I'm worth more outside than I am worth inside. Having your own sense of self-worth is going to be the determining factor on whether you're going to do something in service of yourself. For a long time, being stuck in that job where I didn't feel valued or appreciated, I started to feel like, well, maybe I don't have as much value as I think I do. It almost takes until you're given the opportunity to have a higher title, bigger job in the freelance world, and you realize, oh, I can do this. There's no smoke screen. It's not this scary thing. I can literally just go do that. I think that's what changed me.
I'm Charla Lauriston, a stand-up comedian, writer, director, and producer, and this is the Working Writer Podcast, where screenwriters, creatives, and industry insiders share their stories of breaking in hopes that it helps you along your path. I'm so excited you could join us. If you like what you hear, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Without further ado, let's get to work. I love this conversation with today's guest, Symone Baptiste. Symone is a comedy director, writer, and producer. Her award-winning comedy short, $16,000, starring Ellington Wells and Brody Reed, was the winner at the 2021 Queens World Film Festival and an official selection of the 2021 Slamdance Film Festival. Symone's latest short film, The Beetle, is available to stream on Hulu's anthology series, Your Attention Please. Symone is also a former live stand-up comedy booker and producer. She produced several popular live stand-up shows, including the live version of The New Negroes, which was also a show on Comedy Central. Comedy is actually how I met Symone. She booked me on Sauce, a comedy show that ran out of the back of Desano Pizza in the little Armenia neighborhood of Los Angeles. I was excited to bring Symone onto the show because Symone is someone who I witnessed make the transition from a former profession to directing and writing comedy as her full-time gig. It was a wonderful thing to watch because one of the biggest lessons I learned when I was trying to break into TV was that becoming a working writer was about changing my mindset from employee to boss. Writers are freelancers. They're creative entrepreneurs. As an employee, I was always told what to do, but as a writer, I had to become someone who figures out what to do. It meant that I had to be proactive and create my own opportunities instead of waiting for them to come to me. And it meant that I had to be confident in who I was and what I had to offer. In this awesome conversation with Symone, she talks about using her passion for activism in her art and how a sense of self-worth helped her make the transition to freelance writing. I'm so excited for you to hear her story, and I hope it inspires you along your journey. Symone Baptiste, welcome to the show.
Hey, Charla. What's going on?
I'm chilling out here. I'm in Vancouver. I'm wearing my big comfy coat because it's very cold, and I'm wondering why am I here in February?
Yeah, I shouldn't tell you it's 70 degrees in LA today then.
No, but everybody I know in LA loves to tell me. People are texting me talking about, girl, it's 70 degrees. When I say people, I mean my little sister.
Aww.
She loves to remind me. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I think this is just good information for the future. I just know now that I'm not in a place in my life where I want to be in cold places when it's cold. I'd rather be in warm places when they're warm. So yeah. That's what I'm going to do moving forward,
That makes perfect sense. I mean, my Caribbean roots too, just like yours. I don't know how you are surviving the cold weather.
I'm not. Okay. You know what? It's actually pretty mild in Vancouver. Like I grew up mostly in Massachusetts. So like Massachusetts is not that mild. I think that Vancouver is pretty mild because we're still on the West Coast, even though we're up north. So you do get that like slightly milder cold, but it is cold right now. But I'm glad that you dropped the Caribbean because that's one of the things that I wanted for you to share first as we jump into this talk. What is your cultural background? Where are you from?
Well, I actually am from the States, but my dad is Antiguan. He moved to the States by joining the military at a young age. I believe he graduated high school at like 16 and joined the military for citizenship. On my mom's side, I'm African American. All of our family is from Pittsburgh. So most of my childhood, I grew up in Pittsburgh.
Oh, wow.
Ended up out here. But I didn't realize all the Caribbean folks were like out here. And thanks to you
I
for like
know.
putting together a little gathering not too long ago, which was fantastic.
Yeah. What our listeners don't know is that my friend Roche and I will not take all the credit. We hosted a Caribbean get together at her place in North Hollywood while I was in LA because I realized that there is very little Caribbean presence in the writer's room in Hollywood. And I was just like, but we out here though. You know, my showrunner, Phil Augusta Jackson, is Jamaican. There's just all kinds of Caribbeans out here. You know, Wyclef's not the only one who's ever done anything. So I think people should know about all of us. You know?
My God. I've met Wyclef and
of course you have,
everything.
Symone.
He is everything you would imagine.
Of course.
I was interning at MTV like during college and he came in and
cool.
He had a guitar, which was like a gun guitar.
I was just going to say, Symone, you need to learn how to pronounce guitar. This is unbelievable. It's
I know.
ridiculous.
I have like guitars behind me. No one listening knows, but I actually do play guitar.
Get out. I didn't know that about you. Oh, wow.
How did you not know that?
How was I supposed to know that?
I played in bands. Like, that was pretty much my identity.
Wait, Symone, how was I supposed to know that? You've never said anything to me about it.
Oh, man. I did try to bury that. That's true. But it's out there now because I'm starting like a Green Day cover band, which honestly
joking.
sounds... No, I'm not joking. It sounds like a joke. And I've asked people, hey, do you want to be a part of this? And I was honestly expecting people to say no because of how stupid it sounds. And everyone I've asked has said yes. So
we all need
now
something.
I'm thinking it's going to be, you know, this humongous Green Day band, like an Arcade Fire sized Green Day band.
I love it.
You know?
I love it.
So, yeah.
This sounds good. Well, glad you didn't ask me because I do not want to be a part of it.
Well, what do you play? I mean, if you want to play tambourine.
I don't play anything. I don't play anything. I do sing. Don't get me. Don't let me drop a note. And I'm just kidding. I would have liked to have been asked just to say no. I would have liked to have been included.
You would have been the only one to say no.
Okay. Well, next time, Symone, please include me. Thank you so much. So you grew up in Pittsburgh mostly, or did you move around since you're an Army kid?
Mostly in Pittsburgh, and my dad was out of the military by the time I was born. He got into air traffic controlling. We lived in the DC area for a hot second, but my parents divorced. Classic story of a Caribbean family, this and that. And then I moved to Pittsburgh with my mom. So my dad's still in DC though, but I consider Pittsburgh kind of like my home because that's where I went to high school. That's like, you know, where all my friends were at.
I love it. So did you go to college?
Yeah.
What was your trajectory like after high school?
I went to college. I went to Temple University in Philadelphia.
Love it.
Philly is awesome. Perfect place to go to school because you're not totally sectioned off, you know, like from the general population. You're like in the city and you're with people. I studied film at first. Believe it or not, I was just going through an old hard drive from college and just laughing my ass off at, like, you know, you see your earliest work and you're like, oh my God,
yeah,
like, this is hilarious.
It is fun to go back to your first thing and be like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
It's awful.
It's great though, because like I look at it and I'm like, well, I've been directing a while, you know, and I learned through the process of just being bad, you know, and like getting better.
It is. So. It's for me, even it's a little bit like sentimental, you know, like looking, because I don't know, like I feel like every little thing, everything you create, there's like a little part of you. So it's fun to see where I was, what I thought was good, what was I trying to say. I actually really love it. It's really fun. Yeah, that's great.
I mean, I don't think it will see the light of day, although I do want to put some stuff out there that's just like totally bad. Like there's one that was a soap opera that we had to put together. And apparently I wrote on it. Apparently I was one of the writers and I watched the soap opera, and the best line from it, a man approaches another man, says he got the clap from him.
That's funny.
And says, oh, I must have gotten it from my uncle. And then the other guy says, but your uncle's my dad. And like, so it's like, I was like, this is so layered and
Yeah.
absurd.
Yeah.
And
do I need to say trigger warning?
trigger warning.
Trigger warning, man.
Basically, there's plenty of goodies on that drive, and so it's great to just go down that road of nostalgia.
That's great.
You know?
That's really fun. And so did your family support you? You know, another classic Caribbean move is to not support creative endeavors. Did your family support your decision to major in film?
My mom certainly did, but my dad, he had, more realistic goals for me, I think. All during school, even though I didn't end up graduating with a film degree, classic. I did it for halfway and I switched to business probably because of the pressure of, family. And I felt like I got a good grasp of it. You know, there's plenty of people who drop out of film school and still do stuff. So in my head, I was like, I'm set. But all the while I was in the film program, I had, pressure from my dad saying like, hey, why don't you like look into air traffic controlling? Like as if that would be like a linear goal for me in my life. Naturally, I think he just wanted me to succeed. I can't really fault him for that, but it is like classic immigrant story where it's like you have parents who had to come out of poverty and then for their kids, they have like, crazy expectations.
For sure.
So.
For sure. And fears. Not just expectations, but fears. My mom wanted me to be a nurse. And I always point out, not a doctor.
A nurse.
A nurse. And I would always think, if I'm going to be at the hospital, I want to be at the top of the hospital. I don't want to be like the nurses are amazing. You can't run a hospital without nurses. But I just wanted her to think higher for me, come on. But our parents, they do their best.
I think it's just practical, right? I think that's
what it is. It's like, what do I know that you can? I know you can be a nurse, so maybe I'll take it as a compliment. At least she knows I can be a nurse.
Yeah.
So you studied film and then you switched to business. And I assume the film program at Temple is just like, like most film programs where it's like theory and then you probably create a project. Or were there different tracks at Temple like that? Did you get to do like writing or producing or something like that?
You could get more specialized like as you went on, but because I was in it halfway, I did all the entry-level courses of film theory, production classes, putting on a soap opera, for example, or just doing short films. What was awesome about Temple is that they had a great amount of equipment that anyone could rent out. And so we were able to like make other projects outside of class, which was great.
That's cool. All right. So you probably have a really well-rounded education specifically for Hollywood with a film and business like classes under your belt. Business is not taught enough to people or finances are not taught enough, especially to creative types.
Yeah.
It's really a necessary education.
I think it helped me early on because once I switched out of film, I had in my head that I was just going to be a producer. I was like, okay, I understand production. I just need to understand the budgeting. And that was like the major motivation to choose finance of all majors, which is not easy. And like I made the joke all the time. I was like, I just looked through the majors list and I just went down one from film to finance. And, it helped because I got into some great internships that were like production management based, working with line producers. And then you fast forward to today and I'm totally on the creative side only. And I couldn't tell you anything. Well, I mean, there are little remnants still of things I learned, but it's like, I really could not just jump into like line producing today. For me, I'm just like so far removed now and I'm trying to stay in a creative mindset that the budgets and all that stuff, it's like I know how to move stuff around, but truly if I was in control of it, I don't know, if that would be something fulfilling for me.
I totally get it. One of the things that I really, really admire you for, Symone, is that when we met, you were working as a producer and you wanted to make that transition to the creative side. And if it's fair to say, I remember you being very frustrated, which I remember at the time when I was making my transition, I was very frustrated because, you want to leave, you're ready to leave, but the opportunity isn't there yet, or maybe you don't even know how to make your moves yet. So can you
Yeah.
talk about that time in your life when you
Yeah.
were feeling frustrated and what you kind of did to start making the moves?
Yeah, I think that the great compromise that I've made in my life was choosing a career in entertainment, which people will say is like not stable, but choosing the stable job in the career of entertainment, which kind of locked me into 8 years of being at a corporation doing a somewhat diluted form of creative because you're working for a major brand. Having that itch to leave only grows stronger once you realize that the upward mobility isn't even there at a corporation, or there's a number of factors that just make it more difficult in that kind of space as a Black woman, even because I hadn't seen anyone who looked like me in that kind of job there, where I had a lot of creative things I could do, but there was always a limitation. There's always like the limit of what you could actually pull off there. As time went on and I found myself booking stand-up shows and being, very immersed in the comedy scene, I realized that was actually what I loved. It's funny to find out something that you thought was like supposed to be the thing you loved, and then finding later on something that you actually love and noticing the difference between those two things. It became very uncomfortable, to stay in a world where I knew I wasn't fully being able to express myself. Towards the end, I had decided to make my first short that I was going to show to the world, just like, trying to do that delicate balancing act of like, nobody, at my workplace can know about this, or else it's going to get me in trouble, which, I had gotten in trouble many times prior to that for smaller things that just seemed to be conflicts of interest. You have all these pressures of like, okay, some people will get rewarded for the things they do outside of work, and I'm in a situation where I'm going to get punished for the things I'm doing outside of work. And so I had to leave, but leaving stability is really hard, especially after you've had stability, And
It's very scary.
I sometimes like envy the idea of like, maybe have just been freelance from the jump, because then I would feel like I could get a handle on that feeling of instability, because I think everyone does have to put themselves in that situation for even a moment to be able to grow. I wasn't growing being stable.
Oh, that is such a great point. I really love that, because there were so many points in my career where I would be so internally at war with myself, like really just internally in a lot of pain. I didn't notice in those moments that that was growth. I didn't recognize that being in this world that I don't recognize, like, because I used to work in politics. I used to work in higher ed. I used to have these like very structured, very safe careers. Now I'm in this situation where I'm not quite comfortable. And there was so much discomfort in growth and so much fear in growth. And so much of my growth has been being okay and like being calm in these moments when I am feeling lost, or I'm dealing with a disappointment, or I'm dealing with failure that's very public when these failures used to be very private,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an experience that grows you personally. As a human being, I've grown up a lot from being exposed to being in the arena, of having to put yourself out there and work. And it just comes with a lot of personal growth. I really love the way that you said that. So you're finding yourself uncomfortable in the insecure, inconsistent lifestyle of being a freelancer. So what have you sort of done to make it work for you?
It's so funny. Like, and the answer shouldn't be therapy, but the answer
so funny.
I had pushed off therapy as like a real necessity for me until I was leaving that full-time job, and I was like, perfect time, But I'm actually really lucky because I landed into a freelance position that has epically long seasons and lots of episodes and summers off.
That's amazing.
Yeah, but I don't think I knew how good that was because last summer I was faced with the reality of like, I actually have time off and I didn't know how to actually enjoy that time off. Even knowing that when I was supposed to be restarting up, I still felt like that insecurity of like, who's going to tell me what to do next? Or, why am I not being productive right now? Like I should be extremely productive even during my time off. I actually have many regrets about that. I could have been traveling, doing whatever I wanted. I think that's the part of freelance life that I am still learning how to take those rest periods when you have them instead of like trying to just worry day in and day out about like, what could I be doing? Like, how can I be productive,
Yeah, absolutely the same issue. What do I do with my unstructured time? What do I do with my time off? I even included it in the working writer program, the working writer school that I do, because knowing how to structure your time is good for your mental health. And also it's just a skill that you just don't know that you need until you leave the working world. And now all of a sudden you have to structure your own time. Like, what do you do when work doesn't structure my time? I am my own boss and now I'm responsible for structuring my time.
Yeah.
But I wanted to ask you about that actual transition because I don't think we ever touched on it. Like, so when you're working your producing job and you're feeling frustrated, you want to make the move. So what was your first step?
Yeah, not necessarily following the rules, but my first step was to start taking on freelance jobs while I had my full-time job and meeting new people, because half the battle of freelance life is just having your contacts, knowing who's going to be able to give you work, and it makes it a little bit less scary. And I think I was such a rule follower and I had already experienced getting hand slapped, for even simple things like booking a comedy show that made no money, that I was actually scared of like, how can I pull this off and not get in trouble? And I think I just got to the point where I was like, this is what I need to do for me. So I'm just going to do it. And I took time off from work. I worked other jobs and I met really fantastic people and got more experience, because it was different work than what I was used to with the TV cycle, year in, year out, doing the same kind of work. And it was great because the second piece of it is asking people, or at least telling people exactly what you need. And that's another thing where I've always been afraid to ask for help. This was the one time where people were actually trying to book me for more freelance jobs. And I had to tell them, hey, I need a longer term freelance job to make the move over to freelance. And then one appeared after that. Like you have to actually put it out into the world so that, someone will hear that and then be able to say, hey, this person's looking for a longer term freelance job. Because a lot of people don't like long-term freelance jobs, it turns out. Some people are, a lot more happy with the flexibility to go from job to job to job. At that time, what I needed was something that was going to be that in-between, to really carry me into freelance life in a way that felt safe,
Wow. See, this is one of the reasons why I really, really admire you, Symone, because I really, every time we would have lunch or dinner or whatever, and you'd update me on how you're making this move, I was always so impressed by the way that you had thought about what would be best for you and had the balls the strength, the confidence to say, no, this is what I would prefer. This is what will work for me. Because I'm also somebody who really struggles to ask for help when I need it. And I'm also somebody who has really had to learn later in life. Like I'm in my mid-30s and I'm just now learning how to say no. And I'm learning how to say, I need help. I'm learning how to say that doesn't work for me. And all of the internal craziness that goes on inside of me whenever I put up a boundary tells me a lot about what I've been conditioned to accept and what I've been how I've been conditioned to act. So have you always been that way? You did say that you're somebody who struggled to ask for help. So was this something that you did deliberately and consciously to make this transition to ask for what you actually need? Like, did you need to go through some sort of, did something happen to you? Went through some sort of process? Was it therapy that taught you how to say what you need?
This was pre-therapy, but what ended up being maybe the breaking point was just being in a corporate world during the uprisings, during the world literally being on fire. Even at the corporate job, Black people were starting to stick up for themselves. I think I was just riding that newfound confidence to be able to say what I need, what should be my path in this life, because I'm the only person that has control over that. And I should be able to speak my own truth and be able to say exactly what I need. I had taken on a freelance job with a bunch of people that I really liked to work with, and I realized they were going to be extremely great collaborators and champions of me. Being presented with like a shorter term freelance job from them, it was easy to just say, I loved working with you. I'm still at this corporate job. If there's anything that's longer term, please send it my way. And I would jump at the chance. And so that's literally all it took. But I think in my head, I knew they wanted to work with me. I wanted to work with them. The timing didn't have to be on their time. It could be on my time, I hope that makes sense. It's like
it totally does.
Scatterbrained. Yeah.
Yeah. But what kind of corporate work what kind of freelance work was this that you were looking for?
Directing, producing. The first actual job that I did that was freelance while I was at my other job was with Baron and Mike, Baron Vaughn and Open Mike Eagle, who were co-hosts of the New Negroes. And they had a web series during lockdown that was with Funny or Die and Blavity. They asked me to help them with it. And of course I said yes. There were people who I had worked with in comedy, and I was so happy that they trusted me with it. It was a very delicate show because it was responding to the times during the summer of 2020, but also bringing on comedic guests to be able to work through the trauma together. I was the showrunner. That's the thing. It's like people outside of my corporate job were like, you can showrun this. And people inside my corporate job were like, no, you're not good enough to get whatever promotion, this or that you think you deserve.
Ooh,
and so,
Symone, you girl, you're hitting a nerve, sir. You're hitting a nerve. I'm calling everyone sir right now.
And when you're faced with that reality, you realize, oh, I'm worth more outside than I am worth inside. But of course, having your own sense of self-worth is going to be the determining factor on whether you're going to do something in service of yourself. For a long time being stuck in that job where I didn't feel valued or appreciated, I started to feel like, well, maybe I don't have as much value as I think I do. And then it almost takes until you're given the opportunity to have a higher title, bigger job in the freelance world, and you realize, oh, I can do this. There's no smoke screen. It's not this scary thing. I can literally just go do that. I think that's what changed me.
I love that so much, Symone. I'm so loving this conversation. We're going to take a little break, and then we come back. I'm going to ask you about your directorial debut, $16,000. I'm quickly interrupting this episode to tell you about theworkingwriter.com. It's a resource I created for screenwriters and creative entrepreneurs that includes a blog, a course, and this podcast. Right now, when you sign up for the mailing list, you'll get my free guide to breaking into television. It's everything I've learned about breaking in, and it's basically what I've said to any writer who's asked to pick my brain over coffee. If you're working on breaking into TV, I hope it gives you some concrete steps to get to the next level in your journey. Go to theworkingwriter.com and sign up for the mailing list now to download your free guide to breaking into TV. Now, back to the episode. So, Symone, I remember the campaign for $16,000. You raised money for it, which I'm assuming your business degree, I hope to God, came in handy when you were doing that.
Yes.
Great. And if the people listening have not seen $16,000, is there a place for people to see it? Your short film?
I just made it fully available on my website. So
I love it.
It's out there now.
Is it free to watch?
It's free, but don't tell any music licensing people where to find it. Because to me, I'm like, it's on my website, so therefore I'm not breaking any rules.
You're not selling it. Yeah, I think if you're not selling it for money, you're not breaking any rules. Like, I think you can distribute it for free. But is it okay to link it in this episode? Because if so,
yeah, absolutely.
I'll definitely link your website. I think everybody should check out $16,000. It's a wonderful short film about reparations. So I wanted to ask you, Symone, how did $16,000 come about? Tell us the story.
Yeah, this was, the before times when people met up in person and did things together. I was booking the new Negroes. It was a great place to chat with people after the show. One show in particular, Ellington was there, Brody was there. We chatted for a little bit about making something together, and that spun into a great brainstorming session. We went to a cafe in Koreatown, sat there for hours, and as soon as the subject of reparations came up, we just knew that absolutely had to be what this film was about. From there, we started our journey in the spring of 2019 just to start to crowdfund, writing it, of course, getting our crew in place, and raised the money and shot it over the summer, and the rest is history. We took it out on the festival circuit. It did really well. We won a couple festivals, and then we got into Slamdance. We won the Pan-African Film Festival.
So cool.
We won the Bushwick Film Festival.
So cool.
And Queens, New York, too. So
really cool.
We're really excited just because this was pre-stimulus checks. This was pre-anything. So we were making a reparations movie that somehow lined up with the times where prior to it, anyone you asked who, you would ask, can reparations actually happen? They would say, well, Black people would never get a check in the mail. And then suddenly everyone gets a check in the mail, and it's somewhat possible. But
wait, and sorry to interrupt, just to give me a sense of the timeline. What was the month that you and Ellington and Brody met up? What month was that? Because I'm trying to figure out basically where's George Floyd in all of this. Is this pre or post George Floyd? Where are we in time?
Yeah, we made this pre. We started talking in March of 2019. We shot it over that summer. We didn't release it until January 2020. And actually,
so that was
February 2020. Yeah. So, we had our first film festival February 2020, and then everything shut down for COVID. And not too long after that, the stimulus checks and everything, George Floyd, all that. And that was, right in the middle of our festival run, which it made it so more people could resonate with it.
Absolutely.
But I want there to be much more, I guess, action around the fight for reparations still. And I don't want us to all forget, because we're kind of somewhat, distanced from the summer of 2020, but things are still happening in this world that need to be rectified even after an uprising.
Yeah, I definitely think even though things have calmed down, I think the United States is in the throes of the reverberations of this uprising, as you call it. You're the only one I know who calls it that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, these George Floyd protests. I think we're very much dealing with the ramifications of America as it is.
Yeah.
America is dealing with the ramifications of America. So I think that's what it is. And it's just going to take the time that it takes. But I think I've seen real change in the time since I've been living in America. I came to America when I was very, very young from Haiti. So I just think that I've seen a lot of change, even in the way that we talk about race, the way that the media talks about race, the way I literally was one of my huge pet peeves was the way that the media would talk about race, the way that Congress would talk about race, like all of these dog whistles, all of these very clear racist points of view and perspectives in the way that it's like that Key and Peele sketch when they're talking about the weather.
Yeah.
Black ice. Like, I don't know if you remember that sketch. It's exactly all the coded language in the news and the way that white anchors talk about Black people and violence against Black people. All these things, I think, are being reckoned with right now, even if it's not like every single day in your face. I think it's being reckoned with in like the ways that you as a Black woman is leaving the corporate world because you felt unappreciated. You know what I mean? Like, I see it every day, all the time. I think all these little tiny revolutions is what leads to change. I mean, I would love to see like a real big one, but I don't know. I think I want to see something that's long lasting. I want to see something that is like fundamentally changed in the US. Yeah.
Yeah.
So one of the things, let me rewind, let me back it up. Like one of the things that I really like to do when I'm creating a project is I like to think about what I want to do with that project. Like I don't like to just make something and not have a plan for it. Like if I'm making something, I'm making it to submit it to this, or I'm making it to release it. Like this podcast, like the plan is to release this podcast.
Yeah.
So what was the plan for $16,000 and how did you guys come up with that?
We all knew that if we were going to go through this tremendous amount of effort, that we had to put it on the festival circuit. And that was the main motivator to get it edited in time. It's kind of like a mad dash, like after you film something to get it edited, try to get those submissions in as soon as possible. And we certainly did that. It's like pilot length, and I know all three of us were interested in exploring different mediums for this story. And so we just went all out and filmed something that honestly, I don't recommend to anyone to film like a 20-something minute short film, because we ended up cutting it to 17 just to be able to like get into festivals and make sure that it was going to get programmed. But at the end of the day, I'm like really proud of what we put together, because it's not only the three of us that put it together, but it was so many different people from the comedy space that were showcased in it. And it's still a calling card. It's like something really cool that I think we all were able to accomplish together.
I love it so much. OMG. One of the things that I know you for as well is for being very politically involved, that you bring that into your work. Can you talk about why you feel it's important to be political in your work, especially at a time when everybody's like, I don't want to be political, which honestly, I think is like a dog whistle.
It is.
I think when you say I don't want to be political, it's a bit of a dog whistle.
Everyone's political, though. Like your boss is political, your landlord's
That's what I
political.
mean. Like everybody's political. So whenever you say it, it's like saying I don't see color. It's like saying I don't see color. I'm like, okay. Yeah.
There's no way to avoid it. And I personally have the same, I guess, knee-jerk thing too sometimes, where I'm like, I don't want something super preachy just like thrown at me. And so what I've tasked myself as an artist to do is to deliver the message in a way that is going to tackle something complex. You're learning something along the way, but I'm not beating you over the head with it. And I think that's really the point of my work, is to get conversations started, provoke people into a new direction of thought. I think what we did with 16,000 was not tell people what reparations should look like, but rather show people what it shouldn't look like. And no one had done that before. Yeah. So I wanted to rile people up so that they started talking about these things and noticing in the real world some of the pitfalls in the conversations around reparations, that oftentimes people will totally just be ignorant to what true demands should be for reparations. Showing them what they thought it should be and showing that go poorly was actually more educational than anything else. And so I've been able to like show it at colleges, which was wild to me, like showing it to USC, showing it to Juilliard, and having professors just be so excited that their students were going to be able to experience this discussion in this format where normally it's like, boring text on a page, but in this way, you're able to actually see things go badly. And I think that was important for the conversation around reparations.
That's a really cool way to use comedy. One of the things that, particularly in the last few years, like that has really annoyed me is when people would say that like comedy is like helping or like, I'm just like, I don't know. I don't know if it is helping. I don't know if it should be elevated to a level where it's expected to help. And help what? Help us ignore or help us not pay attention. So how do you approach using comedy, I guess, to help? Or do you even think that that is comedy's role?
That's not comedy's role. I think comedy's role has always been truth. And the truth is often funny, or it's funny because there's pain in it. There's something that you're working out with the comedy. Mm-hmm. What's more painful in the Black community than slavery and the idea of not getting reparations? When you see people speak about it, they speak about it with passion. I wasn't using comedy to help, and I wasn't using comedy to hurt in this situation. I was using comedy to understand. Mm-hmm. The way a message is delivered is important. I'm not trying to win people over who are already on my side. I'm trying to win people over who wouldn't have even watched this, wouldn't have even approached this piece of work unless there was comedy in it. I had so many people after the fact tell me, like, I had no idea, like, this was so entertaining, so much fun. And I'm like walking away from this, like understanding more or having questions at least that I never had before. That's how I approach it. And even now I am about to take out a feature script tackling gentrification, but through the eyes of kids in South Central who are just gamer kids. You have a different way in than what would be expected. Instead of this like preachy lesson, you're instead showing like a real story and the flaws in people without telling people how to think. You're showing people how it is.
Yeah, I love that, Symone. Aside from this feature that you're tackling, what else is going on for you? What's next?
What's next is I am going to make another short film, planning on doing that this summer. I feel like it's time to make something really absurd and goofy again for the festival circuit, and I'm like excited to do that. And outside of that, just trying to develop different projects while, I'm still supervising producing a show for Roku. And however, I guess like the greatest tool that you can have as a freelancer is just being able to wear many hats and just do many things at the same time. So I definitely subscribe to that.
Absolutely. So we're just going to wrap up. It's been an amazing conversation. It's been a really great conversation with you. I want to ask you one last question. What helped you the most when you were making your transition, do you think, from the work world to the freelance world? If you could give anyone out there who's making the transition some advice, what would it be?
I think the best advice is to know your worth and do not let anyone else get in the way of what you truly are passionate of. But it's hard because I think it was many things that helped me transition. It was conversations with people like you, Sharla, like in conversations with other people who have made the transition, ask people questions and tell people what you need. The end, mic drop.
Yeah. As you were making this transition, every time we would meet up and catch up, you knew that I also was interested or am interested in directing. And you would always make a point, even as you were making the transition, to give me advice, to help me along, to encourage me. You encouraged me to submit my film to film festivals, my short episodic that I did to film festivals. It got into Slamdance. It got into a bunch of festivals. So thank you for your encouragement. But I always love that about you. And I wanted to ask, what's up with that, Symone? Why are you so freaking nice? Like, what's that about?
I just want everyone to win. I feel somewhat like kindred to you because I know like we both had immigrant parents. We are hard on ourselves.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I think I was just telling you, like, if I were in your situation, what I would need to hear. And after watching your short and seeing how good it was, I honestly just couldn't understand why you weren't showing the world. Like I wanted you to know your worth in that situation and know that you were worthy of having your work on display. To me, if that was at all helpful, I'm like so happy because you're such like a pillar of wisdom to me too.
Aww.
But I wanted
Ditto.
to just be honest with you, and that's something that I don't think we have enough of, is like just people being honest with each other instead of being competitive,
I agree. I agree.
Yeah.
Well, what an absolutely wonderful conversation. Thank you so much, Symone, for coming onto the show. Thank you for being awesome. You're awesome. You're one of the good ones. You're a gem. That sounded kind of bad. It sounded like there aren't a lot of good ones, but it'd be like that. There's
Sometimes
good
it
ones.
does be like that.
Yeah. There's good ones.
Well, thanks for having me. This was fantastic, and congrats on your new podcast.
Thank you. Wow, what a wonderful conversation with Symone Baptiste. I especially loved what she said about self-worth and knowing your worth. And it's something that comes up over and over again in my life and in my career, just getting back to the basics of knowing that you deserve to have what you want. I know it's not that simple. I know just knowing your self-worth doesn't automatically turn into things happening and things materializing, but it's foundational. I've learned the lesson over and over again throughout my life and my career that just having a level of self-love and self-worth and knowing that you can, not even just that you can have the things that you want, but just knowing that you have a right to desires and a right to go after the things that you want. I think even attempting to go after what you want is an act of self-love and self-worth. So what a wonderful conversation. Absolutely love talking to Symone. I really hope she invites me to that Green Day band so that I can say no. I like to be invited. I don't want to go, but I love to be invited. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed this episode. I hope you check out Symone's short, $16,000. It's a great delight to watch. You can find Symone's work on her website at SymoneBaptiste.com. That's SymoneBaptiste.com. And you can follow her on Instagram at SymoneJett. That's SymoneJett. And you can follow me on Instagram at Charla Lauriston. There's no way I could do this podcast alone. I'm grateful to have several wonderful people helping me put it together, including Brendan Burns, who did the music for the podcast, our editor, Justin Asher, and I get some additional production support from Maya Racole and Nicole Edwards. If you'd like to show your support, follow us on Instagram and LinkedIn at The Working Writer. I hope this episode gave you a little bit of gumption to go onwards with your journey. I think that's it. Until next time, get out there, get to work.